Welcome to Antwerp. All right, welcome to the second city of Belgium and what was for many years the largest city in Europe north of the Alps. We're going to show you this great city, which is sometimes overlooked by travelers when they're coming to Europe, but we're going to show you why you should put Antwerp on your list of travel destinations when you're doing your European vacation. All right, here we go. Let's visit Antwerp. Let's go. All right, so this is the beautiful Central train station in Antwerp. And, you know, if you saw our Christmas market video from Leipzig, and if you haven't, you should go check that out. But I said that I talked about the Leipzig train station, and I said it was the biggest, and I thought the most beautiful train station in all of Europe. Well, Leipzig, it breaks my heart, but I think you're in number 2 as far as most beautiful train stations in Europe now, because this place, referred to as a cathedral train station, is quite stunning. It's beautiful on the inside and the outside. The inside is really spectacular. You got to go inside and check it out. It really does look like a place that you could say a prayer at. It's quite stunning. Not nearly as big as some of the other train stations in Europe, but really a work of art, and one of the sites that you got to see when you come to Antwerp. Even if you don't come by train, you got to come by the train station and check it out, because it is quite a sight to see. All right, welcome to Belgium, guys. Welcome to Antwerp, and you can't visit Belgium without getting a big cone of French fries. So right here from this friture stand, and we got a big glob of mayonnaise on there, and these things are crispy and nice and crunchy on the outside, and creamy and potatoey on the inside. So good. Okay, so one thing you're going to see quite often here in Antwerp, you're going to see images of hands, and I'm going to get into that in a second, tell you why we see so many hands around here. But one of the popular things are these cookies, these biscuits in the shape of a hand. This one has chocolate on the back, and here at Philip's Biscuits. And for you Southern people, we're not talking about your biscuits and gravy. These type of biscuits are what we would call cookies, really. But this is shaped like a hand, and it's a famous kind of a symbol of Antwerp, and I'll tell you in a little bit. That's good. It's kind of like a shortbread cookie, but it has almonds on the top, and it has a chocolate back, so quite tasty. And when you're in Antwerp, you got to come by Philip's Biscuits and pick you up some, I don't know what they're called, I call them hand cookies, but anyway, there you go. All right, welcome to Antwerp, and I'm standing in the middle of I think it's called the Grote Markt or the Grote Markt. Anyway, I think it means like big square. And so that is the town hall right behind me, that big building, big giant building, and this statue behind me. So very legendary story behind that, but if you can see, the guy on top, you can see what he's doing. He's actually throwing a hand. He's in the process of throwing a hand. And the story behind that is one of the biggest legends here in Antwerp is on the river, that's just that way. The legend is the first building here in Antwerp is there's a big castle on the river. And supposedly there was a giant or some sort of powerful, mean guy who lived there. And he used to take a toll from all the boats coming up and down the river. Actually, you know, took a toll, 50% tax of everything. I guess they sold everything they had, right? So if they didn't have the money to pay, or if they couldn't pay, or if they refused to pay, then the story is that he would chop their hands off, right? So big, horrible guy doing bad things, cutting a lot of people's hands off, very hated. So this guy up here, his name is, or was, Bravos, and supposedly he was a Roman soldier who came here to basically kick that guy's tail, and so he beat him. And on the other side, he is the giant, and basically Bravos chopped his chopped his head off. His head is laying over there. And then he took his hands, chopped his hands off, and threw them into the river. And supposedly, that's how Antwerp got its name. Ant, I guess, is hand, and twerp, or werp, is like werfen in German, and it means to throw. So ant, werp, throw the hand into the river. Antwerp, there you have it. I don't think there's any truth to any of this story, but it is a nice legend, and the people of Antwerp like to share that with you. Grand Square, the Grote Markt. If you look at these beautiful buildings lining the square, so Antwerp was just a huge port city. It is the second largest port city in all of Europe right now. And so a lot of trade, a lot of business came through here. And so these beautiful buildings are all like trade guilds, like headquarters for the different trade guilds in the city. They all built their buildings. And if you look on top of these buildings, like a lot of them have golden statues or something, those are supposedly the patron saints of each one of the guilds, right? So that guy up there on the golden guy on the horse, if you can see up there, that is supposed to be St. George. And I don't know which building that was, but he was a patron saint of somebody, St. George, the dragon slayer. He's always, you see him all over Europe killing a dragon.
The police.
Maybe it was the police, patron saint of the police force, could have been. But all of them, the golden statues up there are supposed to be the patron saints of the different crafts. All right, so you can't come to Belgium and not have waffles. And we are at not the Waffle House, but the House of Waffles. And I have a savory waffle with chicken, eggs, and some sort of sauce. And Betty has a sweet waffle with some ice cream, some whipped cream, and some chocolate sauce. Looks great. And something I didn't know, a rectangular waffle like that is a Brussels waffle, and one that's kind of shaped like a star, a little bit different, that is the Liege waffle. So there's two different types. Who knew? I didn't know. But anyway, here we are in Belgium having some delicious waffles. Bon appetit. This alleyway is, it's very nice. There aren't many of them left here. This is one of the original ones in Antwerp. And I guess the people who lived here used to be, kind of poor, and it was known as a place for the wealthier people to bring donations to. So the story goes, I guess most of these little passageways have been closed down or cut off. You can't go through them. But this is one of the ones that is still remaining. And it's really nice. You can walk around and go through, and it's a really nice little path. But one thing I want to show you is this old keyhole and this old door. And so the story is, the reason why this is made like this, if you're coming home from the pub and you've had a little bit too much to drink, and you're trying to put your key in the keyhole, you can't quite find it. If you just go boom and then follow this down, put your key right in the hole. So there you go. Problem solving for drunken people in the olden times, I guess. So there you go. Interesting keyhole here in Antwerp. All right, so Antwerp really reached its peak in the 16th century. It was a big port city, and like I said, today it's the second biggest port in Europe, and it really got rich from the diamond trade, and it's still the hub of diamond trade in the world. And like 80% of the rough diamonds, and I think like 50% of the polished diamonds in the world are transported or are traded through Antwerp, actually. And so it got rich. Basically, Jewish people who ran the diamond trade in Portugal were kind of kicked out of Portugal. They said either convert to Christianity or else. So they left, and they actually moved here in Antwerp, which was more, open to different religious practices. So they thrived and made Antwerp the diamond trade. And then it became a trade for all things with the huge port out there. Bruges, which was a powerful city, it declined because its harbor kind of silted over. And as it declined, then Antwerp got big and powerful. powerful, and Antwerp was big and powerful for about 100 years, and then Antwerp went into decline for different reasons, mostly because of religion. They weren't tolerating other religions other than Catholicism, so everybody else left. They went to Amsterdam, and then Amsterdam had its powerful century. So pretty interesting. But yeah, the 16th century, the 1500s were really big here in Antwerp. It was very powerful and rich, and today it's just a nice place to come visit. Right, so now we have some more Belgian fries with some Flemish beef stew. So instead of ketchup or mayonnaise, we just got beef stew put on top. Look at that, this is supposed to be the best fries in town. Wow, the fries are good. The beef stew is really good. That's some very good beef stew. Quite tasty and a nice snack, or really a meal. You can get them with different sauces. Yeah, these French fries are really delicious. And yeah, like I said, that beef stew is something really special. So we'll show you the name of this place. I forget, it's frites something, but I will show you the name on the outside. But delicious French fries here in Antwerp. All right, so I'm here at the Tourist Information Office in Antwerp, and go inside and they have a bunch of different souvenirs and stuff for the city. You can take home as souvenirs, gifts or whatever. And they have these, this little travel guide to Antwerp. This was €5, and they gave me a free city map as well. So go in there and get your information about the city of Antwerp. They have a couple of levels you can go up for observation platforms to get views of the city. They're free, so it doesn't cost anything. In my honest opinion, the views really weren't that great, so go up there if you want to. But this particular building, this is the Castle of Antwerp. I think they call it the Stein, if I'm not mistaken. And so this is the oldest building in Antwerp, and it's right on the river. And this is where supposedly the giant who used to chop people's hands off and eventually got his hand chopped off, this is where he lived, supposedly. And like I said, it's the oldest building in the city. You can see it's been rebuilt a few times. I think the original structure, they said, was wood. That got destroyed. And then I believe it was when the Romans were here, they rebuilt it with stone. And when you're standing from the outside, you can see the original stone is much darker. And then you get about, halfway up the building, you can tell the stone changes colors. And so that's the newer modern stone that when they rebuilt the building that had been damaged. But very interesting place, and come here, get your tourist information stuff, get a view of the city, and get a little bit of history here in Antwerp. All right, so if you're walking along like the main pedestrian shopping street here in Antwerp, it's called Meir, maybe, M-E-I-R. So you'll walk along and they've got a lot of shops, a lot of nice, some high-end shops. And then you're going to come to a beautiful building on the side. It's pretty long, has some nice, just some nice artwork on the outside. Step inside. That is like the shopping mall, and I'm telling you, it is one of the most beautiful shopping malls you'll ever see. It used to be something else. I think maybe it used to be a gallery or something, had some sort of other function, but now it's like a shopping mall, and it is absolutely beautiful on the inside. We'll put the name in the description. I can't remember what it's called. The name's on the outside, but you will no doubt recognize it when you see it. Just a very beautiful building, and when you come inside, it's even prettier on the inside. Here in the Cathedral Square of Antwerp, we have a kind of an interesting little statue here. Normally, you think about tourists, travelers, visit places to see things that are there. But in this situation, people traveled here to visit here to see something that they wanted to be here. And it's kind of a long story, but bottom line, so this is Nelo and Patrice. I think Nelo is the boy, Patrice is the dog. Anyway, long story short, in the 1800s, a British author wrote a book about this boy and his dog, and the cathedral here in Antwerp, and it ends in tragedy. The boy was an orphan, lived with his grandfather died, and at the end of the story, the boy and his dog wind up frozen to death in the cathedral. It's a very tragic story. The book went around the world, never got very popular at all here in Belgium. No one in Belgium knew the story, but when it got to Asia, it got very popular in Japan. And apparently, so I'm told, in Japan they have like comic books and cartoons and stuff based upon this boy and the dog. So it got really popular, and the Japanese knew that the story was based in Antwerp, here at the cathedral. So tourists from Japan started coming, wanting to see something based upon this boy and his dog. Well, nothing was here, so they kept showing up and asking for it. And then, so eventually, the city decided to put this here. So this statue's been here for about 5 years, it wasn't here. It wasn't here before that. And like when people started coming and asking about the story, like the locals, the Belgians, like, what are you talking about? They'd never even heard of the story. So then they had to find out what they were talking about, and then they decided to build a statue of a boy and his dog, and they're using the cobblestones as a blanket, so hopefully they're not freezing to death, not like the tragic end to the real story. So there you go, kind of a weird tourist attraction of what tourists wanted to see, and so then the city, I guess, gave into them and built it for them. All right, so we were in the Antwerp Cathedral, the Church of Our Lady, and a very breathtaking, stunningly beautiful building. Construction took not quite 200 years. I think it started in the 1300s. It was finished in 1521. It has a very beautiful and impressive tower that goes up 123 meters. It's the largest Gothic church in Belgium. Now, it is beautiful and it's very impressive, but it costs 12 euros to get in. And I'm not a big fan of paying to go inside of churches, but we decided to come into this one because it does have some very impressive artwork. It's kind of like, I mean, it is a functioning church. They still have service here, but it is very much like a museum. There's 4 beautiful pieces of work by Rubens, and that one behind me, the raising of the cross. And there's 3 others that are also very impressive. And those are the most famous artwork here, most famous pieces of art here. Rubens was a hometown boy, or actually he wasn't born here. He was actually born in Germany, but he spent a lot of his life here and did most of his formative years were here, and did most of his, I guess, most famous work here in Antwerp. So, if you really like art and you love beautiful churches, it's worth paying 12 euros to come in. If you're just kind of take it or leave it, then it's probably not worth your 12 euros to come in. But it is a very beautiful building and it's quite impressive, and the artwork is really nice. All right, so I don't know can you see that? It's making like a whirlpool of beer down at the bottom, and I guess that keeps it fresh and carbonated as you're drinking it. And it's something to do with the glass. So I'm told that if you put this beer in just a regular, in another type of glass, it won't do that. So the special self-refreshing beer glass here in Belgium, Duvel. Prost, zum Wohl, or cheers, I guess. I'm not in Germany anymore. All right, so we've got our dinner. Another thing of French fries with homemade mayonnaise. And have some more beef stew. Oh, look at that, man. Big chunks of meat in there. And dip this fry in there. Oh, boy. That's really good. And Betty's looks fantastic. It's like a chicken, I'm not sure what it is. Almost maybe a chicken pot pie type dish, you might say. Looks like something our neighbor Sonia used to make every year for Heilige Abend, Christmas Eve there. But looks great. Can't wait to dig in. All right, so we just had a great meal here at the Arme Duivel, which means the poor devil. Very delicious. I had some great beef stew. It was fantastic. The beef was so tender. You could just pull it apart with your fork. Big chunks of beef, really good. Betty had some sort of a dish. It was chicken. It was like a chicken stew with meatballs and mushrooms and like a pastry shell on top. It tasted very similar to chicken and dumplings, which we're used to eating back home in the southern United States. So excellent meal, couple of beers, came to like €52, I think. Good price, very nice. So when you're in Antwerp, stop by the Arme Duivel, the Poor Devil, and have yourself a nice meal, and it's pretty great.
Make reservations or get here early?
Yeah, get here early. We got here right as they opened up for dinner, 5:30, because we walked by a couple times since we've been here, and it's always full. And tonight we happened to walk by just as they were opening. We got here like 5:25 or so before they actually opened up. We're able to get seats. So suggested to make reservations during prime dinner times or come extremely early like we did. All right, well, that's a wrap for our trip to Antwerp. From its stunning architecture and rich history to the delicious food and lively atmosphere, this city has so much to offer. If you've enjoyed this adventure, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments. Have you been to Antwerp, or is it on your travel list? And if it's not, it should be. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.